G'day folks, Scott here. Today I'm reviewing Terminator 2 in 3D. Terminator 2 came out in 1991. It was directed by James Cameron. If you're watching this, I'm assuming you've already seen Terminator 2. If you haven't, I'm going to be talking about major plot points in this. If you don't want to know anything, go watch it, come back later. So, Terminator 2 is one of the greatest action movies ever made. One of my favorite movies ever in the action category. I love this film. I'm old enough and lucky enough that I got to see this in cinemas in 1991 as soon as it released because I loved the first Terminator. I was very keen for this one. And this was during a time when studios didn't fuck up movies by releasing trailers that spoiled the entire plot. I literally did not know that Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator T-800 in this movie was actually the good guy until it was revealed during the gunfight in the hallway in the mall when he grabbed John and saved him during that chase sequence. That's good storytelling and that's good marketing from the studio to not ruin something that was a really, really big, important plot point. I've seen this movie so many times throughout my life. I love it dearly. About the only complaints I have for the entire movie is one, John Connor's voice, Edward Furlong's voice cracking, because he was, obviously going into puberty and whatnot, is frustrating, but whatever, it's just part of the story. I can't stand his mate with the ginger mullet and the denim jacket and the ghetto blaster who listens to that shitful Guns N' Roses song every time you see him on screen. Luckily, that kid's not in the movie much. He used to be in this shitty TV show I used to watch when I was a kid called Different Strokes. Right toward the end of it's like, it's syndication on TV. But man, that's a pretty small gripe. The movie to this day really does stand up. It was a benchmark for stunts and practical effects. Some of Stan Winston's best work was done in that movie. It was during the sort of dawn of CGI effects becoming a big thing in film. Some of the effects in it haven't stood up particularly well, but I applaud James Cameron for not changing anything in this sort of anniversary re-release. A few of the morphing effects, morphing was a new technology at that time and sort of everyone did it after this. Some of them don't look great, going from practical bullet hits on the T-1000 to the shot of the morphing ones where they close up and whatever isn't great. There's one scene in the movie which is a great scene, but it shows the limitations of the technology at that time where the T-1000 is impersonated John Connor's foster parents and is on the phone to him, to John, and then, kills the dad with a knife arm thing. And then there's a transition shot where the arm comes back to being a hand, and then the Terminator steps over the corpse of that guy, transfers from being the mum to the liquid guy, and then to the cop guy. And it's a really slow, methodically paced scene because they needed him to move in a very specific manner to pull off the effect in that scene. But it always stuck out as a little hokey back in the day, and that's not great now. But 99.9% of this film is flawless. The stunt work is incredible. The helicopter under the bridge and the great chase sequences and everything. Like, I love this movie dearly. But really, this isn't me reviewing Terminator 2. This is me reviewing this new version of Terminator 2 and trying to express to you why I think you should go to the cinema and see it again. Now, to be clear, this is only in cinemas for 1 week, and this is day 3 of that week, so you don't have a lot of time to go and see this. I guess the big draw card is 1, seeing it at the cinema on a massive screen again. That alone was enough, worth the price of admission to me. 2, they've really cleaned up the print, restored it completely, it looks fantastic. And 3, it's been post-converted to 3D. Now, normally movies that weren't shot in 3D that are then converted to 3D later, they don't do a lot for me. They've done some really poor jobs of that in the fact that it's been either too 3D or it's been too dark or it's just not been 3D enough and it seemed like a waste of time. None of that really applies to this. James Cameron obviously has been pioneering 3D heavily since the release of Avatar. The guy really, really does think that the studios fucked up 3D and took something that he sort of put out there on the forefront of going, here's a benchmark for technology, and very few people have even met what he did, let alone move forward with it. Everything's been back. There's been some exceptions to that. I think Ridley Scott did a great job shooting Prometheus in 3D, and I think that Ang Lee did a great job with Life of Pi as well, but most 3D has been pretty hokey since. Now, the 3D in this was great. Given the fact that it's an old movie that's been converted to it. Some shots were fantastic, some not so much so. For me, like from the opening scenes in the future with the war between machine and man, and specifically even that opening shot in those scenes that had the skeleton behind the wheel of a car, the depth behind that car and the depth in that environment and all the lasers from the hunter killers coming towards camera and all that kind of stuff, that sequence was fantastic. Unfortunately, like a lot of live action 3D, some sequences throughout the movie really, for me, I can't describe it any other way, as like a puppet show. Sometimes there's really noticeable foreground, middle ground, and far background palettes that look like cardboard things sliding in front of one another more so than a true sense of depth. That didn't happen often in it. I noticed it a few times in the Pescadero mental hospital with Dr. Silberman when he was walking the interns around and introduces Sarah Connor for the first time in the movie. I found them really kind of layered shots. But overall, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. The 3D definitely brought some depth and some new feelings to the movie. It was just so good seeing it with the crowd again. So good just hearing everyone laugh at all the beats and just being there, and experiencing this all over again. I really enjoyed it. Another failing that 3D can have when it's post-converted is that it dims the image because the glasses are tinted. They'd clearly ramped up the brightness on this film or taken that into account, because I didn't notice that it seemed dim or, there was the loss of detail or anything like that. Skin textures and everything and their fine detail and things was just fantastic. It was great. Now, I can't, again, stress enough, if you're going to go see this, you've got like 4 or 5 days left. You need to get on this immediately. It'll come out at home. If you have a 3D setup at home, you'll be able to see it there. I know they're doing this glorious special edition with a full-sized Terminator arm with a 4K HD DVD release coming up. I think it's a little later this year. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get that special edition in Australia, but if I can, you'll be seeing it behind me at some point because it looks really nice and I'd very much like to get it. And that's all I've got, folks. Get your ass in a cinema. James Cameron said that if this does well in the cinemas, that he will look at doing other movies, and the next one on his list is Aliens. I would love to see that in 3D at the cinemas, so do your part. Get in a cinema, go see it. You've got 3 or 4 days left. Get on it. I'll be back real soon to review. I think it will be the next thing I see at the cinemas. Very keen for that. As always, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.